and trailers as some people do. But I have called when I have guests, and I do, several of us do have out-of-town children who visit us, who may be away at college, and they visit quite often or whatever. And I have to use my neighbors. I've made things by saying, can my son park his car or whatever there, but that can happen. And I've had to call in FaceTime or whatever it is on several occasions. But
maybe that's the purpose of the.
But you gotta give the police department, I think, a little discretion there.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. This is why this is the first reading.
This is
I'm
the
not
first
opposed to
reading.
that being implanted and inserted for discretion for constructional projects and other things. So I appreciate that input.
And another thing, I would have been more prepared to address this had I had this kind of thing written out. There's nowhere in here that tells me what that is. I don't have what you guys have. You
No,
understand
because
that? So I cannot
nobody
address
gets a
it.
complete
So
board
when you do
package.
something first, second, and third reading is unfair to the public.
It's one reading. It's only one reading. Okay, Strauss, and then
Okay, my question, Mayor, is to the chief. Is there any consideration or monitoring being done for projects that call 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in the event that there may be disabled and or abandoned vehicles in that driveway that creates one of those 1, 2, 3, or 4 vehicles?
Right.
and the streets only, not the driveway.
Okay.
So,
So, to answer your question, Ms. Stroud, yes, that is monitored. But when these calls come in, these calls are coming into our midnight watch command. So we typically have to use kind of quick discretion when we're acknowledging, okay, it's okay to park there or not, to park on those streets. Now, in happenstance, I do go back and look the next day or 2 days later and see who's requesting this, and we do kind of do drive-bys and stuff. And I don't know if residents have noticed in some areas where residents have brought up disabled vehicles being in driveways, we have pursued that, ticketed those vehicles and towed those vehicles out of the driveway. But again, we don't know if a vehicle is disabled in a driveway. Unless the vehicle's on all flats and all windows are broken out on the car, we're not gonna have any type of knowledge base of knowing that the vehicle is disabled in a driveway.
I'm really from the car. This way.
I don't agree with this ordinance. I think if my kids come to visit me, I don't think I should pay. But if they come, I have girls, they travel, they come in cars, I have to pay for them to park on the streets. I have
Okay,
no room for them in my driveway.
I understand. So then what we run into option is when there's snow on the ground and Public Works needs to come through and plow snow, then you subject vehicles to be stuck in or plowed in to the driveways. If there are certain streets where emergency vehicles, where I've received calls from the fire chief that the large fire engine or fire truck, ladder truck cannot get down the street when they have an emergency situation where they need additional manpower personnel on various streets. One of those streets are in your area where we cannot get emergency apparatus on streets when vehicles are parked on both sides of the street. So now we have to look at two things. You either want to look at the public safety aspect of getting emergency equipment down your street, or getting snow plowed and regulating that, or we go ahead and say we go ahead and block off the street and an emergency situation happens. The fire department has full ability to do whatever they need to get it done. So again, I understand where you're coming
Our
from.
street have where you only can park on one side. You can't park on both sides.
Well,
We have that ordinance already.
Well, there are certain, and that is a part of this ordinance here. That is a part of this ordinance as well.
Right.
So this revision is a revision of the entire section of that ordinance, okay? In the summertime, we run into this situation more times than not, where we have streets that are blocked off, where we cannot get emergency equipment, even with one car parked on one side of the street, okay? So here's the thing. We want to work with the residents. I'm not trying to make it a burden for the residents, but there are a lot of liability issues that have to be addressed in regards to public safety in dealing with these street parking situations. So on one hand, we can do everything we can to make the residents happy, and I don't have a problem doing that, but understand that it runs a risk for the fire chief and public works director saying they cannot get equipment down the street. And then now we end up having to knock on doors, hope you open your door, do emergency relocation of vehicles, where we're towing your vehicle off the street and relocate it to somewhere else. So those things have to be looked into as well.
Homestead, for instance.
So, okay, so it is the first reading. I'm sorry, so we can talk about this all night, it's 9:30. So anybody want to add something?
Yeah, Mayor, I would like to just follow up on Trustee Williams' comment about the school buses and that.
Yeah.
Because obviously this doesn't pertain to school children. But that is a real valid issue, so I would support anything that would keep cars from being parked on bus routes
Right.
during the day, especially, when
that is a
those
problem.
conditions could be created and could be hazardous to the children.
That,
In fact, that was one of the reasons why the parking ban was changed, because people would park their cars in their driveway and they would block the sidewalk, and in the wintertime, the kids have to walk out in the street
right.
in order to get around those cars, so that was part of the rationale before.
Okay, so, I'm
I
sorry.
wanted to answer Chief. Back in the day, in the 70s, they towed the cars. They didn't knock on nobody's door. They towed the cars. You know why? Because it was dangerous to our kids. Just like Mr. Payton just said.
And you know what, and I would tell you, that's an excellent idea. Myself and the Public Works Director sat down and talked about it extensively with the acting village manager last year, and we felt towing the cars would be based on what the village is dealing with currently, that would put an undue burden on our residents to charge them a $200 and some odd tow fee to tow their vehicles off the street. Again, we have to balance this out. We have to look at the good of the residents, towing their vehicles and making them pay $200+ plus a tow release from the police department to move their vehicle or change parking regulations. So, like I said, this is a debatable subject all night long.
Right.
Again, this is just the first reading, and we'll make all the tweaks we need to make.
I understand, but if they know these rules, it won't happen.
Trustee, regardless of how many rules that you implement, you're still gonna have it happen, and you're gonna still feel the residents that's gonna come to the police department and come to the board members in regards to these matters. So if you guys are prepared for that, we'll do what we need to do.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
can I close out by saying, soon as, actually, we'll have the cable studio coming up, but as far as the ticket issuing and up 2 to 6, there are a lot of towns that do it. Actually, number one, it is a safety issue. An officer will say, for Country Club Hills, first of all, 2 to 6, we always, at 2 a.m., we wait until about 2:15, 2:30. Whatever person did not call dispatch, we get out there and we get the writing. 6 o'clock, you're free to do whatever you want to do. But it is a safety issue. I will say, you just don't know how many burglaries happen, right, Chief? If a car's out there, there are residents who do have cars that are in a state of disrepair in a driveway. If those cars are out there, Madam Mayor, they should be told that the police department should follow the protocol, in which they have, and just do their job. But I, like everyone else, enjoy the 2 to 6 rule, because number one, if someone is on your street, they shouldn't belong. When it comes down to the permit itself, I do have kids in college. I do agree, the first one should be free, then there should be a fee for the next one. But I do recommend there be more stickers, because when you start handing something out with paper, when the officers ride by, when we drive by with the spotlight, you can't really see, just have it above the village sticker. I think that would solve a lot of issues. We did it before, I don't see what's wrong with it now.
All right, so we'll bring this back. This is the first reading, and we'll tweak it, comment on it. Everyone will have something to say, okay? Roll call. First reading, so we can start adding to it, taking away from it, and modifying it. But we want to start putting it in order. Okay.
Trustee Williams. Both sides. Trustee Wilson.
Aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Both sides.
Trustee McMullen.
Both sides.
Trustee Payton.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
And Mayor Cummings.
Aye, thank you, very healthy discussion. First, second, and third reading ordinance authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement by and between the Village of University Park, Will and Cook Counties, Illinois, and Rio Grande Major Crime Task Force for membership in the task force. Is there a motion? Moved by trustee Wilson, second. Second by trustee Brooks. Questions, concerns, comments? Fantastic. Roll call.
Trustee Brooks. Trustee Wilson.
Aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Both sides.
Trustee McMillan.
Aye.
Trustee Payton.
Aye.
Trustee Ryan. Mayor Cummings.
Aye, thank you.
Madam Mayor, that's ordinance 2017-20.
That's 20? Thank you. F2C, resolution of the Village of University Park, Will and Cook Counties, Illinois, authorizing the approval of execution of business signature cards and related bank documents with Midland State Bank. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Brooks, second.
Second.
Second by trustee
Payton.
Payton. Questions, concerns, comments? Roll call, please.
Trustee Williams. Trustee Wilson.
Aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Both sides.
Trustee McMillan.
Both sides.
Trustee Payton.
Aye.
Trustee Ryan.
Aye.
And Mayor Cummings.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Cummings.
Aye.
Madam Mayor, that's a resolution on 27.
Thank you. F2D, resolution of the Village of University Park, Will and Cook Counties, Illinois, authorizing execution of an agreement by the and between Ed Green, DP Green Tree Service, and Village of University Park for removal of the trees. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Wait a minute. We haven't got the question yet. Moved by trustee Brooks, second. Second by trustee McMullen. Questions, concerns, and I have a comment as well. Questions, who's the person? Was that William?
Williams.
I just wanted to know, how much are we gonna be paying for these trees? For this company?
It's right in here.
I didn't see it.
15,000.
For 50 trees.
50 trees, 15,000 for 50 trees.
Which trees?
The one,
One's on the list that, Public Works.
We identified 192 trees
okay,
in the Village of University Park.
okay.
So from this ordinance, we're going to take the worst 50 and start there. Abbott, Amherst, Sierra Court, Monterey. That's the first line.
Okay. And those are the most hazardous ones?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have a concern and a little, okay. I know we have 3 bids. Oh, okay, are they attachments here? Because I only see one. So,
I did.
pardon me?
You got the bids.
Okay. My question and concern, I need the 3 bids. I need to see 3 bids, first of all. You know that's the consensus of the board. They always like to see that. But I'm a little disturbed for the simple reason, Mr. We are always, and everybody battles this constantly. Why don't we use the people that we have on file as a bid?
On file as a
First, people that are in, we have several landscaping companies in University Park. And were they requested first? Did they put in a bid?
Most of the landscaping companies in our area there don't have the equipment to go up 100 feet up in the air to take out the trees. So we have to use a commercial company.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but how do you, I think that's a bit of a responsibility to take upon yourself. If you give them the bid, maybe they might want to rent the equipment. But one person that I did ask, he heard about this, Mr. PTL, the person that did our landscaping when we had funding was low, and he did our whole village for free for a year. He said he didn't know about this, and he has the equipment.
Well, he was with me today, so
Okay, what did he say?
he told, on the tree remark, his truck goes 45 feet in the air. The village's truck only goes 20 feet in the air.
Okay.
Majority of our trees are 75 to 100 feet in the air. So we have to go out commercially. We need stump grinding. We need all of those things done. With the ash trees, these trees are supposed to be burned. They need to be hauled away from the village. They need to be burned. We need to go professional company. Not saying he's not professional, but we need to go with a company that can get the trees out, the 50 trees, right away.
I understand. I was just questioning because we have another one as well.
Also with him cutting grass, spraying our ball fields, spraying our parks, that is what he's doing for us now. These 50 trees should be gone before the end of the month. We have to do it before the ground starts to freeze, the ground starts to...
Okay, that was a concern. I didn't see 3 bids, but so we should see, even professionals, we should see 3 bids.
Okay, so first, just to really clarify this is an emergency resolution to cut down 50 trees that are near schools and parks, that are hazardous, that are potentially going to fall down this winter, okay?
Or a bad storm.
Or a bad storm, okay?
Okay.
This is why the resolution is capped at 50 trees. This is why the resolution says no, not to exceed $15,000. This is for an emergent basis to deal with those trees in the school areas where students play, in the park areas where we have parks where those trees exist. Once we get to 50 trees and $15,000, not to exceed, there will be a professional bid process with 3 bids. And I will tell you, the village attorney was submitted 2 bids, okay? The timing is to get this on the agenda, to get it addressed. By the time we need to get the company out, to schedule them to come out to cut trees, we were able to get 2. We didn't get 3. And we did not do a bid process, and we did not do a sealed bid process, okay? This information was acquired through the village clerk as well as the village attorney based on the emergent matter of these trees being cut down. That's why it's 50 trees, not to exceed $15,000. Anything beyond that will be done through a sealed bid process approved by the board.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I just want to say that this is a steal. Anybody ever, when you got a quote on having a tree taken down? A tree costs you a couple $1,000, a big tree to take down. You get 50 trees for $15,000, that's an absolute steal.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
With stuff grinding.
I appreciate it. Trustee Wilson.
I know it's an emergency. I know it's an emergency. We're not following our process because we're saying it's an emergency. Did we get a professional like Ms., I don't know, unless Gary is an arborist or a professional when it comes to trees and cutting them down? Like Ms. Katrina Johnson. Did we get a specialist to determine which 50 trees are the most dangerous? Number 1, how was that decided? Okay. Number 2, I would like to see the quotes from the 2 companies. We're supposed to have 3, we don't have any in front of us. All we have, if I can finish, all we have is this piece of paper that I cannot read.
Okay.
That's to me, I know it's an emergency.
Trustee, I have all 3 original copies with me. What you have, I'm not sure. You received 2.
No, just 1. But
we have 1 that is unreadable.
Oh,
it's very vague.
And we're supposed to have, it's unreadable. I can't read it. I can't read it. So I know it's an emergency. Residents, I know trees. My job is environmental health and safety. But what I want this board to start with, we have to follow the process. And the process is 3 bids. We got 2. The board doesn't have any. We have a sheet of paper in front of us that says 15,000. I can read that part at the bottom, but I can't read anything else. And we can't continue to do this.
And trustee, just for clarification, I'm aware of the 3 bid process. We're aware. We submitted documentation. The Madam Village Clerk was we talked to Clerk D. Jones in regards to it as far as inquiry. She just stated what she stated, whatever. We provided to the attorney. Again, this is why this resolution is based on an emergency basis, limited to 50 trees, not to exceed $15,000. So we won't have an open blanketed situation where you just have a whole bunch of trees being cut down willy-nilly without any control.
Was a specialist used to determine 50?
A specialist did not come about until after this was already in process.
So no specialist was used to determine
Well, we have,
Yes, you have.
the tree company is the licensed arborist. I have 3 bids.
Okay, well, share it with the board.
No, when this came about, only 2 were in, so the 2 were submitted. So if you only have 1, I know 2 were submitted. So the arborist drove around town, just as I did with Ms. Johnson. We looked at the same trees. Black Hawk, right by the school, those trees on Amherst, those trees on Hickok. They all determined those are the first 50 trees that need to be taken out of here.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay.
but, go ahead.
Wait, my question is not satisfied.
No,
You have an arborist. We do not have that documentation in front of us. We do not have the 2 quotes. We're supposed to get 3, we didn't, but the board does not have 2. So the board is voting on it. The board needs to see the information.
and
If you have it,
I don't know where the copies that I gave
if
to
you
Chief
have it, let's
that you don't
share
have.
it. But
But I have my copies.
well, let's see.
Right. Huh?
Let's pass it down.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that'll work, because.
I turned them in.
What is this amount here? It says, because, it looked like it was padded over, cut over here. What is this? Is this 12,000 or 2,000 or? Right, it looks like somebody changed some figures. Okay.
There's a link on the resolution.
It's a limit on the truck,
It's a limit on the resolution. I placed that limit on the resolution.
I fell for this one.
on the truck.
I mean, what they, no. Bids.
I don't see any. Where is it?
Where's the second quote?
Council. When this was transmitted over to you, how many quotes were attached to the request, based on your knowledge?
There were 2. There was one from Green Tree Service.
Okay.
And the other was Smitty's Tree Service.
Okay, I just want to clarify that we did not just send over one quote. I just want to clarify. Yeah.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I would just like to say that the director indicated that we have 192 trees. These are the first 50 in the real critical routes that affect our children. And while I'm one that's big on process, except in times that there's emergency, because I'm just here to tell you, if a branch falls off a tree and hits a child after this debate, $15,000 is not even going to pay our legal fees. And then we got another 142 trees that we can act a little differently on, or try to get more documentation for those that need it.
And hopefully we can make some phone calls tomorrow and get some kind of support, to help us get some down. Can I see those? Did you see them? Okay. So everyone can see. The coloration is making a difference in the print. Oh, okay. Okay, this is the original. Okay. It's a thick, that's why we got it. Tell them to write in black. Okay. 12, 4, 14, 5. Okay. Ed green. Okay. This one, what is the price on this one?
They were charging by the inch.
Okay, per inch. Whoa. Yeah, let's move on with that one. Okay.
The rest
All
of
right,
it.
anyone else? Okay, any other questions? Trustees, we have a meeting at 1. Did we have a second? Okay. Any others? Roll call.
Trustee Wilson. Trustee Wilson.
Aye. Votes aye for 50 trees only,
That's all I'm saying.
At 15,000.
and no more than 15,000.
Trustee Brooks.
Votes aye.
Trustee McMullen.
Vote side.
Trustee Payne.
Both sides for a bargain basement, $300 a tree.
You guys know that's not good. Trustee Brown.
Vote aye for 350 a
You
tree.
guys know it's not good. Trustee Covington.
Vote
I'm
aye.
sorry, Mayor Covington.
Vote aye.
Madam Mayor, that's resolution R 2017-14.
Thank you, Trustee Wilson. We appreciate that. Okay, the next item. Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
have a motion to table item F2E.
Oh, second.
Motion, and second.
Never put it on the floor.
Oh.
Oh, that's right. I started to do that at the beginning of May.
Okay, Mayor.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
It's
go
on.
ahead, read it.
Okay, a motion to approve the settlement of a case 16CV 11056 in the motion in the amount of $10,000.
Madam Mayor, point of information,
Yes, sir.
before we entertain a motion to table this, some of these settlements are predicated on a timetable, and I just want to make sure that we don't violate the timetable, if there is one related to this settlement.
There is not with this trustee Payton. We've been in contact with plaintiff's counsel and indicated that if we do not have to sign a settlement agreement released back, that the board most likely would table this. And he understood.
Thank you again. All right, roll call.
We don't have a motion in a second to table. We have a motion.
Theo.
Now I make that official motion.
Okay.
To motion this item, that's F2E, the motion of the settlement.
I'll
To
second.
table.
Motion by trustee Brooks, second by trustee Oscar Brown. Roll call, please.
Trustee Williams. Trustee Wilson.
Aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Vote aye.
Trustee McMullen.
Vote side.
Trustee Payton.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
And Mayor Covington.
Aye. Okay.
I'm going to, my manager's report, I'm going to actually,
We haven't got those in. Okay.
yeah.
We're gonna do bills payable first. Okay. Just a second. Bills payable. Okay. Attached for your approval and listing of critical general operating expenses for the Village of University Park that occurred on August 4th, 2017 through September 12th, 2017. General fund amount total $559,258,559.15. Road and Bridge Fund, $7,610.88. Town Center, $6,163.96. Capital Funds, $967.70. IRH Development, $258,268, totaling $561,569.69. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Brooks, second by trustee McMullen. Questions, concerns, comments?
Question.
Yes, sir. Trustee Brown. And, what can I do?
I had a couple of questions on page 7.
Check number?
There is not a check number, so.
Okay, page 7.
Invoice approval list, page 7.
Just a second.
Start there.
Page 7.
You got oil and gas for 8,000, and then electric bill for even 6,000.
Yes, sir.
those grants?
Employee general insurance, wait a minute. Ed, yeah, $6,000, yes, sir.
Oil and gas is for fuel, for police cars, public works vehicles, so actual fuel for vehicles.
What was the equipment you brought from, Port Lee Corporation?
Oh, so, yeah, so, okay, so as a prelude to this, so, the police department received a $30,000 technology grant, okay? The grant covers for a new evidence system, new tasers for the police officers, and new server and new equipment for the police department. The $10,000 payment for Porter is covered by the grant, which will be reimbursed to the village immediately once that check clears. They'll go over to the Cook County Department of Homeland Security, and they will immediately cut the check over to reimburse the village. The same for the check for Taser, for $5,000 and some odd dollars. That will be an immediate reimbursement. Taser, or they changed the name. I have to look here. But it's a amount for purchasing tasers for the police department. Our tasers are about 8 years old and out of life cycle.
I guess we want to know where, though. We're looking at bills payable, we need to know which ones. Right here. I see
So the first one's for Porter.
See Porter.
The second one is for,
Axon Enterprise?
there you go, Axon Enterprises. And then you're gonna see a $4,600.50 expenditure for OnSolve, which is a new emergency communication system, and that's grant funded as well.
Okay,
I wasn't finished.
okay, sorry.
Yeah, I know we said we paid $6,000 on the previous page, but we also have bills for $2,000, $4,000, and another $3,000 all for comment. So we're paying comment, $2,000, $4,000, $3,000, all even numbers.
And 6,000.
There's a $6,000 one, then if you turn to page 8.
Yeah,
So each facility gets a separate bill. Each facility that has power gets a separate bill. There's not one bill for the entire village.
Yeah, I see part of the grant is $399, I'm sorry.
But my question is, why is it exactly $2,000? Why is it like $2,011.98 or something like
Well,
that?
since those are under 10,000, I don't have those checks or bills in front of me. The board was only provided with bills that are over $10,000. Bills over $10,000 require board approval. Anything under $10,000 does not require board approval. So anything over $10,000, the purchase order as well as the justification of the charge is there. If you guys want to have questions on those payments, you guys can exclude those, and I can pull documentation.